All right, if you could, please tell us where you've taught and for how long in America, and then tell us about how long you've been teaching internationally.
I taught for 3 years in the United States, teaching grade 6 and 7 world cultures. And then I taught 2 years in Thailand at the middle school, teaching language arts and ancient cultures. And then 1 year teaching grade 5.
Okay, and once you got into the international social studies classroom, how did you have to alter your social studies curriculum so that it would fit more to this type of school setting?
I think when I taught social studies in the middle school, there wasn't as much altering to do. There was a lot of building of vocabulary because most of our students, English is their second language, but it was ancient civilizations, so I had to build a lot of that background knowledge anyway, and I would have had to do the same probably in the United States. But when I moved over to grade 5, the curriculum is peace and conflict. And so when we're talking about different conflicts throughout the world, even conflicts within Asia, the kids didn't have a lot of background knowledge because, grades kindergarten to 4, it's a totally different type of social studies. Grade 5 is sort of the transition into much more content-based. So I think the biggest difference with the lack of background knowledge.
And you touched on it a little bit. How did I guess the student body population, the mix of students that you've had in your classes, how did that alter or affect the way that you taught or the curriculum that you developed?
I would say that currently most of my students are Asian, and I do have a few who are from the United States or from maybe South America. But again, sort of making a common language that we can all talk about when it comes to social studies. I would throw a term out and half of the students would get it and half wouldn't. Overall, though, I would say as far as managing the kids internationally is a lot easier. I don't really have behavior problems. The kids are very respectful. So the teaching that I get to do, I teach more, and I don't have to manage behavior. So I think the quality is better.
Excellent. And if you were to, let's just say that you were to head back to the United States and start teaching back there again, what would you say would be maybe the number 1, 2, 3 or so most valuable things that you will take from your international teaching experience?
Well, I think the first thing would be my experience traveling. Teaching social studies, I've gotten to see all of Asia pretty much. So I, have lived through the protests that they had last year in Bangkok and got to see a growing democracy, and I can talk about that in my classroom. I've been to Myanmar where it's ruled by the military, and I got to see that type of government. I've gotten to go to a communist country and seen how different groups of people live, and I think one of the best things too is that when you live in a place and you teach in a place, you really understand the culture. So, Thailand, if you come and visit it maybe for 5 days, it's the land of smiles. But if you live for 3 years, you get to see kind of what's underneath those smiles, and I think that that's really valuable, and I know that I'll get to go back to the States and to talk about that with my students.
Excellent. Now let's say there's a young elementary school teacher out there who has taught in the States for a couple years and is thinking about, much like yourself, and was thinking about, okay, I might want to do this international school experience. I'm not sure. What advice would you give them?
I would definitely say do it. I am moving back to the United States, and I'm hoping it sticks, but I could also see myself coming right back out internationally because it's such a wonderful opportunity. My advice, definitely make sure that you have taught in the States, and make sure that you research the school, and make sure that you're going to a quality school and that you want to live in that place and experience that culture. But without a doubt, it's the most valuable experience that I've had in my life, I would say.
And excellent. And you touched on this a little bit too, so if you could elaborate a little bit more. Let's say that the teacher then has taken your advice and they decided they want to do it, and they come to the international school, they have the job, and it's 2 or 3 weeks before they actually start teaching. What advice would you give them then? What helpful hints would you give them?
I would say that what you need to do is come early, travel, sightsee, get to know the culture, find out about the city that you're going to live in, try to meet some people who actually you can communicate who are native to that country, and just experience it in the classroom and everything. You know, if you come early and you get to experience a culture, then you're not taken by surprise when you actually get to teach.
And overall, do you think that this international school experience has made you a better teacher?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. I get to teach. And I mean, really, I think that's the key part. And, you know, now it's normal because I've been here for 3 years, but I remember my first year just thinking, oh my gosh, these kids are listening. I put the structures in place, and they're doing it, and they're talking when I ask them to talk about something. And the quality of teaching and the thinking that I've been able to do about teaching and my practice and assessment and instruction and curriculum has been amazing. In addition to working at a smaller international school, I get to be on all sorts of committees. I've gotten to rewrite the social studies curriculum for grade 5. I was able to, you know, implement writer's workshop, and you just really get to work in a way that, you know, if you're in the States, the big districts, they sort of take care of it for you all, but here you just get your, you know, feet wet in every sort of educational way that you can.
Excellent. Great. Well, thank you so much for answering all the questions.